Good evening and thanks for joining us. We begin tonight with tragic news. A 7-year-old boy was killed after being hit by a vehicle in Lloydminster last night. It happened at around 8:30 at the intersection of 57th Ave and 31st Street near Rendell Park School, where police say a red Toyota Tacoma struck the boy and he subsequently died of his injuries. RCMP are now working to determine the cause and factors in the crash. They're looking for anyone who witnessed the accident to contact them. And the Lloydminster Hospital is still dealing with some of the fallout from the flooding last month. Brittany Matika now with an update on the air quality inside the building and patient care.
5 temporary cooling systems are currently controlling temperatures within the hospital, following water damage to the air ducts. On Tuesday, cool air from the permanent heating, ventilation and air conditioning system was returned to emergency dietary and mechanical departments.
We're hoping by the end of tomorrow to have it back up on temporary, but at least we'll have cooling throughout the building, and hopefully Friday or early next week to have the rest of the hospital back up and running.
We actually spend quite a bit of time wandering in the hospital and checking with patients in different areas that feel warm or cool, and we are monitoring the air temperature as well as the humidity and the air quality.
The hospital did have some issues controlling the air quality, but now says that they have been resolved.
So up on 3rd floor, which is our medical unit, we had a little bit of variability up there. We had an innovative system that we put in there, and we changed the way that we were delivering the air, and it's made a big difference. We haven't had any issues with humidity on the wards. We did have a little bit in the OR, but we've resolved that.
We have a hygienist that comes out of Edmonton twice a week. They do tests, swabs, air samples throughout the hospital, and they've all come back good.
Bro says the average temperature with the temporary system is keeping the hospital between 22 to 23 degrees. With the heat wave in the forecast, the temporary systems are expected to function without any issues.
We're hoping they will keep up. These air conditioners, when it's warm, they produce better. So we're hoping everything stays at a decent temperature.
The hospital is hopeful that within another month and a half, they will have their permanent air system fully functioning without temporary lines. Brittany Matika, Newcap News.
As a heat wave moves across the prairies, it's not only people who need to stay hydrated and cool, but pets as well. Brian Lentz has more on how to keep your furry friends feeling fresh.
If it's too hot for you, if you think just a few minutes in that car, no matter where you're at, would be uncomfortable, imagine what it's like for your pet.
That's a good rule to go by when caring for your pets in the summer months. Whether they're on a walk or in a car, it doesn't take long for heat stroke to set in.
I mean, the classical case, of course, is, a dog locked in a vehicle without proper ventilation, and heat stroke can actually occur within minutes in a situation like that. We have to remember that dogs don't really sweat. They can sweat from their foot pads, but they don't have sweat glands all over their body.
Dr. Newman says if your pet shows symptoms such as excessive panting, a high body temperature, red gums, or an irregular heartbeat, cool them down, but not too quickly.
Don't just submerge them in a big tub full of cold water. You're actually better to use cool water, not cold water. And try and focus on areas like the head and the neck. Focus on areas like their armpit and their groin that don't have as much hair.
Even on a breezy day like today, John Punchon with the SPCA recommends that you walk your dog in the early morning or in the later evening to avoid your dog from overheating.
Have the water available to them, but don't force it down them, because that can actually cause further problems as well.
He adds, when you go on walks, avoid hot pavement.
Walk them on grassy areas as much as possible, so that, because naturally just the soil grass is going to be a lot cooler than if you're just walking straight on pavement, which can get very hot very quickly.
Punchon recommends if you think you'll have to leave your pet in a vehicle, it's best to simply keep them at home.
If you're able to keep them down in a basement, generally a cooler area to go is recommended. Keeping the windows open or sometimes closed with the curtains closed, depending on if there's going to be a wind, if it's going to be just dead heat.
Brian Lentz, Newcap News.
This is Newcap Sports.
Cleats, jerseys, javelins, and birdies. Our athlete of the week has a busy schedule on top of being a full-time student. Brittany Matika spent some time getting to know one of Bishop Lloyd's top student athletes.
Ava McEachran just completed grade 9 and is going to Lloyd Comp in the fall. She plays every sport she can. Basketball, volleyball, softball, badminton, and track keep her busy up to 5 days a week, plus games on weekends. With the development of her game this past season, her role as a player has changed.
Trying to stay positive as one of the older guys on the team and one of the leaders, I guess you could say, to the guys that are younger, just staying positive and being a good influence on them.
She's a very good communicator. Her basketball team this year, they won districts. They had a few grade 7s that are very raw and new to the junior high level of sports. So for her taking them under her wing and kind of nurturing them a little bit, she's a very strong leader, very good communicator, and good role model.
The grade 9 student showed great dedication to her training, using every minute outside of classes for practice.
My coach used to pick me up in the morning, and we'd train every morning at like 6 a.m. on a Friday usually, and we go from 6 to 7 a.m. Sometimes it'd be after school, but whatever usually worked better for her schedule. And I'd also train with the comp team on usually once a week.
She does a really good job of balancing everything in her life, because there are certain things in her life that, you know, she could let slide. She could skip a practice, or when she was working with Jamie Springer this spring doing javelin, she could, I don't want to wake up Friday at 5:30 to go for a 6 a.m. workout. So it's her drive and dedication that are the two biggest things that I think will help her long term.
McEachran is not only dedicated on the court and field, but also in the classroom. She was the recipient of the Bishop Lloyd Proficiency Award for her academic and athletic endeavors.
I wouldn't say it comes easy for Ava. She works extremely hard to maintain those types of marks. And I think it's something that she's been able to transfer through athletics. Time management and work ethic is something she's done a really good job as a student athlete.
Well, school would always come first. That's just what my parents would always tell me as well. And making sure that the grades come first and that you have a solid average, and then your sports can come second. Even though they're both pretty valuable to you, you have to make sure that academics take majority.
Brittany Matika, Newcap Sports.